In 1961, a philosopher boarded a plane to Jerusalem. She was a Jewish woman who had narrowly escaped Nazi Germany herself, a refugee who had spent 17 years of her life stateless, without a country. She went to report on the trial of Adolf Eichmann, the man responsible for coordinating the transportation of millions of Jewish people to concentration camps. She went expecting to look evil in the face, to understand it, to find in Eichmann the monstrous psychology that could account for what had been done. What she found instead was the most disturbing thing she had ever encountered. Not a monster. A small, rather pompous man in a glass booth, speaking entirely in clichés, unable to think independently, self-important and completely incapable of understanding the gravity of what he had done. Hannah Arendt called what she witnessed the banality of evil, and the implications of that phrase have never stopped reverberating. This is where curiosity meets truth. Before we go to Jerusalem, we need to understand who Hannah Arendt was. Born in Germany in 1906 to a Jewish family, she studied philosophy under Martin Heidegger and Karl Jaspers, two of the greatest philosophical minds of the 20th century. When the Nazis rose to power, she was arrested by the Gestapo, escaped, fled to Paris, was interned in a French concentration camp, escaped again, and eventually made her way to New York. She spent 17 years as a stateless person, no passport, no country, looking at the world from the outside. That outsider perspective, the view of someone who had lost everything a nation-state could take from you, shaped everything she wrote. In 1951, her first major work, The Origins of Totalitarianism, established her as one of the most important political philosophers of her era. It was the first serious academic attempt to understand how the Nazi and Stalinist regimes actually functioned, not as aberrations of history, but as logical outcomes of specific political conditions. And then in 1961, she went to Jerusalem, and everything she thought she knew about evil was challenged. But here's where it gets truly interesting. Adolf Eichmann had always been present in Arendt's awareness. They were born only 7 months apart. She said she would never forgive herself unless she went to look at him face to face. So she went. And what she found was this. Eichmann was not driven by ideological hatred. He was not a sadist. He did not, as far as anyone could establish, have any particular personal hatred of Jewish people. He was a bureaucrat, a middlingly ambitious administrator who had found in the Nazi regime an organization that gave him structure, status, and a clear set of instructions. He coordinated the Holocaust the way another man might have managed a logistics company. He processed paperwork. He arranged trains. He followed orders. He used the language of his superiors because he had no language of his own. When asked to reflect on his actions, he reached for clichés every time. Phrases from speeches, bureaucratic formulas, stock responses. Arendt observed that it was Eichmann's thoughtlessness, the absence of thinking, that enabled him to commit monstrous acts. This was not stupidity. This was the willful suspension of conscience through the refusal to think independently, to ask oneself, what am I actually doing here? Who are these people? What does this mean? She described what she witnessed as the fearsome, word and thought-defying banality of evil. If this is already shifting something, you know what to do. Subscribe button is right there. Here is why Arendt's observation was so deeply controversial, and why it remains so. Before the Eichmann trial, most people, including most philosophers, understood evil as something extraordinary, something that required a special kind of malevolence, a monster's psychology, a fanatic's commitment. Arendt's conclusion destroyed that comfort. If Eichmann was not a monster, if he was an ordinary man made extraordinarily dangerous by his refusal to think, then the capacity for that kind of evil is not rare at all. It does not require unusual psychology. It requires only ordinary compliance, ordinary careerism, ordinary thoughtlessness. the ordinary human tendency to follow instructions without asking what the instructions mean. This connects directly to what we explored in The Dark Knight, the Joker's argument that ordinary people are one bad day away from becoming something else. Arendt's evidence was more disturbing than any fictional villain. She was saying it doesn't even require a bad day. It requires only a system that removes the need to think, and people willing to stop thinking, because thinking is harder than compliance. Arendt noted that totalitarian regimes always eventually fall. History would make sure of that. But totalitarian thinking is a different matter. Long after Hitler and Stalin had died, she predicted, the elements of totalitarianism might still persist. In cultures, in institutions, in the tendency of people to outsource their thinking to whoever holds authority. And this is the part that makes Arendt not just historically important, but urgently relevant right now. How many systems in your own life reward compliance over conscience? How many organizations ask you to follow process without questioning what the process is for? How many times have you done something because it was the rule, without ever stopping to ask whether the rule was right? Arendt's antidote to the banality of evil was not heroism. It was not extraordinary courage or saintly resistance. It was thinking. The simple, daily, uncomfortable act of asking yourself, what am I actually doing here? And what does it mean? She called this the only effective antidote to the kind of evil that doesn't announce itself, that arrives dressed in paperwork and procedure and organizational loyalty. Hannah Arendt went to Jerusalem to understand a monster. She came back with something far more difficult to absorb. The understanding that the greatest atrocities in human history were not primarily the work of extraordinary evil. They were the work of ordinary people who stopped asking questions, who followed the system, who processed the paperwork, who told themselves they were just doing their job. The phrase she coined, the banality of evil, was so controversial that the Anti-Defamation League sent circulars to rabbis urging them to preach against her. Her response, in a letter to a friend, what a risky business to tell the truth. Arendt died in 1975 at her desk, mid-sentence, writing The Life of the Mind, her final attempt to understand what thinking actually is and why it matters so much. She never finished it. But the question she left behind doesn't require a finished answer to demand one from you. Are you thinking? Not processing? Not complying? Not reaching for the cliché? Actually thinking about what you're doing, about what it means, about who is affected by the choices you make every day inside the systems you inhabit. Because according to Hannah Arendt, that thinking is not optional. It is the only thing standing between ordinary people and the capacity for extraordinary harm. Here's your question for the comments. Think of a system you're part of, a workplace, an institution, a social norm, where you follow the rules without ever questioning what they're for. What would happen if you stopped and actually asked, why? Drop your answer below. New Philosophy Explainer every Wednesday on Chasing Sunsets. Subscribe and hit the bell. Curious minds don't miss this one. This is where curiosity meets truth. See you next Wednesday.